I think most actors' dream is to be able to do a period piece film, but I got to do an every period piece film.
Blake might be perched at the pinnacle of Hollywood's A-list, but according to industry insiders, there's nothing enviable about her current predicament. She's reportedly rushing to manage a sudden wave of disclosures that Justin Baldoni just made public on a newly launched website, documents that he claims will finally clarify the ongoing legal skirmish between them. Until this point, Blake appeared to hold the advantage. Her version of events was widely circulated, amassing traction in countless headlines. Everything changed, however, when Justin, star and producer of It Ends With Us, unveiled a digital hub featuring court filings, behind-the-scenes footage, and text message screenshots that contradict Blake's account in nearly every detail. Previously, Blake had accused Justin of seriously inappropriate on-set behavior, depicting him as the main source of conflict during production. Her supporters alleged that Justin manipulated certain scenes, ignored her boundaries, and undercut her creative influence. These accusations dominated media outlets, with numerous pundits aligning with Blake or at least taking her statements at face value. Justin, in contrast, consistently refuted any misconduct, but had yet to supply concrete evidence, until now. It turns out he was compiling materials for a comprehensive online counterstrike, and his team insists these items tell a very different story about who truly wielded power on set. Rather than allowing Blake's account to remain unchallenged, Justin's new site presents what he dubs raw data, meant to clear up any misperceptions. One link directs readers to a revised legal complaint, naming Blake, her publicist, and a major newspaper as co-defendants in an alleged defamation campaign. Another link provides an intricately detailed timeline of events, starting from when Justin first secured the rights to It Ends With Us, right up to the current clash of opposing narratives. According to the timestamps he reveals, the media storm against him was orchestrated for months before it erupted in the press. He contends that one particular outlet didn't just accidentally stumble on the story. Rather, it collaborated with Blake and Ryan Reynolds to run a heavily skewed article. For her part, Blake has positioned herself as a star who found herself in awkward, even humiliating circumstances during filming. She maintains that Justin crossed personal lines, flouted industry guidelines, and took credit for key creative ideas she had originated. She also suggested that Justin's production firm was poorly managed, that her complaints were brushed aside, and that her appeals for courtesy on set went unheeded.
I was making I don't know, juice with there was this maple water on set, and I was like, oh, water tapped from a maple tree. This is exciting. But instead of just handing him a plastic red cup that I was drinking out of, I went and got the martini glass, a crystal glass, and shook it up for him properly, because you can't hand that man a red cup.
No.
And so he's standing on a dock with mud around, and he's holding a crystal martini glass. It was just juice and maple water.
In her own filing, Blake included excerpts of text messages that seemed to bolster her side of the narrative. Until recently, most pundits assumed that was the end of the conversation. Yet Justin's newly released website features what he calls complete chat threads, complete with timestamps that differ from the edited versions Blake's team presented. It's a textbook example of he said, she said, but now with a trove of digital materials complicating matters far more than before. Among the more explosive accusations from Blake's camp was the claim that Justin disregarded established limits while shooting certain scenes. She hinted that there were no professional guidelines for intimate content and that she felt trapped with no one offering support. In contrast, Justin's newly revealed evidence features internal production emails and call sheets that, if genuine, point to a very different situation, one in which an independent consultant was on hand, daily check-ins were standard practice, and several crew members were available if anyone felt even the slightest anxiety. Although the public does not have full access to all the contracts or behind-the-scenes records, the partial disclosures on Justin's site have already led some, who initially believed Blake's statements without question, to take a step back. Likewise, Justin's legal team has emphasized a bundle of text messages between him, Blake, and various crew members. He claims that these messages indicate Blake frequently demanded last-minute script changes, insisted on reviewing the daily footage, and even hinted at refusing to participate in press events if the creative vision didn't bend to her wishes. Before making his website public, Justin had only briefly hinted at controlling conduct on Blake's part, staying mostly quiet, presumably to avoid antagonizing the dispute or breaching confidentiality. That reticence has now vanished. He's uploaded a series of screenshots meant to illustrate how Blake actively shaped, and in some cases overshadowed, every facet of the production. The fact that the online timeline extends back many months suggests Justin may have meticulously documented every exchange.
Well, I'm a romance I love romance. I'm a hopeless romantic. Romance is like everywhere in my life, but I had never read a romance novel, and I didn't understand why. And I'm sure a part of that has to do with like, you know, my unconscious subscription to like, you know, the man box, and like, I shouldn't, you know, that's not manly. But I read this novel and I couldn't even finish it.
Suspecting she might someday twist the narrative in her favor. Hovering in the background is the unspoken drama of Ryan Reynolds' role. Known for his quick humor and comedic social media presence, he has reportedly confronted Justin about perceived offenses toward Blake. Per the amended complaint, Ryan's reach went far beyond what most people initially imagined. Justin's team contends he never truly held the upper hand, pointing to Ryan's immense global influence and Blake's celebrity status to show how Justin felt pressured to tread lightly. To underscore this point, Justin's lawyers have shared details about several production decisions they say were shaped by the couple's preferences. Details that, in Justin's view, challenge Blake's statements that she was ever bullied or dismissed. The website also references an incident previously described in the media, only in vague terms, a meeting at Blake and Ryan's home. Blake's account presented it as a good faith conversation designed to tackle creative disagreements. Justin, however, maintains it was more like an intense standoff, leaving him feeling cornered and forced to accept demands he found unreasonable. Texts in the case exhibits show a sharper tone from Blake, indicating that if Justin failed to comply, she would use her star power and formidable alliances against him. Although these texts are not definitive proof of wrongdoing, they do raise questions about whether Blake, rather than Justin, was steering the situation from the start. Some fans wonder why Justin waited so long to speak out this forcefully. His official explanation is that his legal team wanted to collect every relevant detail in one central place before launching a public defense, partly to respect ongoing legal proceedings. They claim Blake's side skipped that formality, releasing selectively edited content to shape public opinion by placing all his evidence, transcripts, documentation, and video footage on a single website. Justin hopes people will examine the complete picture rather than sound bites. He's also labeling the site a transparency measure, noting that it has no commercial objective since he isn't charging users. It's essentially an online repository of a behind-the-scenes dispute, yet it's hardly a charitable act. There's no doubt this move is a calculated maneuver to sway public sentiment.
She said, just read it, because I was looking for movies that could be commercial and speak to the human experience. And
were you reading romance novels?
And I had never read a romance novel.
Never?
And she said, just trust me, read it. So I read it, and by the end of the book, I couldn't even read the text on the page because I was crying so much. My wife was in bed next to me, and she's, you know, I got snot coming out of my nose.
Much as Blake's allegations did for her camp is hardly ignoring it. They tried to obtain a court order to shut down or restrict Justin's postings, calling them retaliatory. That request was denied, leaving Justin free to keep unveiling material at will. The court's denial reportedly sent Blake into damage control. Those close to her say she never imagined Justin had amassed so much digital proof or that he'd make it all so readily accessible. Some speculate she might pursue another legal tactic to stop additional uploads, though Justin's attorneys appear confident in their right to keep sharing. Why do these messages, emails, and behind-the-scenes glimpses matter so much? For one, they shed light on how It Ends With Us actually progressed, or regressed, during production. Instead of polished PR statements portraying a perfect set, the conversations hint at growing friction fueled by artistic disagreements and strong personalities. Blake's star status, combined with her partnership with Ryan, seemingly gave her leverage whenever conflicts arose. Justin, meanwhile, says he was juggling multiple roles, acting, directing, producing, and that, under the strain of working with a high-profile couple, tensions reached a boiling point. While no one is claiming that stress justifies any questionable decisions, it does push back on the caricature of Justin as sole antagonist and Blake as victim. Observers who've reviewed these newly published materials note that the site also includes references to a friendlier stage in Blake and Justin's partnership, at least at first. Early messages show them joking around and applauding each other's work, discussing character arcs, wardrobe ideas, and even anticipating fun promotional interviews. If these are authentic, they complicate the narrative that the production was contentious from day one and suggest a collaboration that degenerated over time. Of course, skeptics will note that a creative partnership can begin on a positive note and still unravel once big egos collide.
And we went into the audition and he signed in, and then the casting director came out and said, Blake? And Eric said, yep, that's her. And I just thought I was gonna die. And she said, we don't have you on our call sheet, and
And he said, oh, and he put his agency's name. And so I auditioned, and I didn't know what to say in that moment. I was 16, and my brother had just written my name on a piece of paper, and they were looking at me, so I walked in the room and did the audition.
Nonetheless, this friendly exchange seems to contradict the consistently grim picture Blake painted. According to industry whispers, Blake is in a tailspin over this. She apparently counted on Justin defending himself, but never envisioned he'd create an entire public archive filled with documentation. She had expected to shape the public's perception with more traditional methods, press releases, carefully managed interviews, and well-timed leaks. Instead, she's now on the defensive. Some insiders suggest she could pursue a fresh legal argument accusing Justin of tarnishing her reputation or meddling in the trial's progress by launching such an enormous PR push. Others think she may execute a strategic pivot, framing herself as someone simply responding to relentless aggression. The real question is whether the public, having sampled both sides' competing stories, will be swayed by yet another attempt to spin the facts. Social media reactions are fervent. Fans on both sides are entrenched, with Team Blake dismissing Justin's website as an elaborate manipulation and reiterating her claim that he engineered the entire fiasco. Meanwhile, Team Justin supporters point to the new texts and footage as evidence that Blake was the real source of micromanagement from the outset. A more cautious group of observers remains uncertain, suspecting the truth might be more intricate and somewhere between the two extremes. Yet for the segment of the audience that makes snap decisions, these unfiltered glimpses into the record are significant.
I think most actors' dream is to be able to do a period piece film, but I got to do an every period piece film because this dates back to 1908 till now. So to explore the different decades, the fashion, the hair and makeup, and just how women were treated in each of those different eras.
What's obvious is that Justin's expansive online reveal has elevated an already massive dispute into something even more colossal. If his aim was to weaken Blake's assertions and portray her as the instigator, it is certainly grabbing public attention. The question is how Blake and Ryan will respond. Will they stay quiet and regroup, or orchestrate a big counteroffensive? Rumors suggest more text messages and possibly additional video footage may still be forthcoming, so this saga is far from over. For those watching from the outside, it's a high-stakes Hollywood drama unfolding in real time, with reputations, livelihoods, and perhaps entire careers at stake. If the existing drama is any indication, this won't simply fade away. It's likely to intensify until one party either concedes or exhausts their strategic options. Blake Lively may be accustomed to the floodlights and fanfare of major premieres, but this spotlight is harsher than anything she's encountered before. With Justin Baldoni's digital releases piling up, the most startling thing may not be the content itself, but the extraordinary measures Blake might need to take to preserve her reputation in an industry now seeing a far more complicated dimension of her image. Until next time, stay curious and keep your eyes peeled, because if there's one thing Hollywood never lacks, it's a shocking new twist waiting just around the corner. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We'll be here to spill every ounce of tea as soon as the next twist hits the headlines.